Is Stockmoe a fraud? Well, let's find out. Today I'm going to be reviewing the performance of some of Stockmoe's old stock picks, examining his credentials, and figuring out whether he has any financial incentive to promote these stocks. I guess today we're going to find out whether Stockmoe is the real deal or a serial pump and dump artist like John McAfee, touting any old hot stock for his own personal gain. This video will be useful for you if you're wanting to get into investing but you don't really know who to trust, or if you like Stockmoe, or even don't like Stockmoe, and want to find out more about his credibility. Also, before you all absolutely crucify me in the comments, I'd encourage you to stick around and watch the whole video, or at least most of the video, because I do want to give a fair and balanced review. Also, towards the end of the video, I'm going to tell you a bit about myself and about the videos I make here on my channel. So if you do enjoy the video, be sure to stick around until the end. And on top of all of that, be sure to drop a like down below and consider subscribing to my channel to see more of my videos. But for now, let's get into the video. So let's start off by looking at some of Stockmoe's previous stock picks to figure out whether he's actually made good calls in the past. The first stock or investment vehicle that Stockmoe ever recommended was leveraged ETFs, specifically the SSO leveraged S&P 500 index, the UDAO leveraged Dow index, and the TCEL leveraged technology index. Stockmoe recommended these leveraged ETFs in July-August of 2020. If you'd invested into the S&P 500 at that time, you'd currently be up 9 to 22%. Depending on when in the month you invested. If you followed his advice and went for a triple leveraged SSO S&P 500 index, you'd currently be up somewhere between 27 and 66%. But you don't exactly have to be Warren Buffett to recommend the S&P 500 as a good investment. So what else has Stockmoe recommended? He then recommended Principal Financial Group and a few other stocks back in September. These stocks are all up around 25% since his call and have slightly outperformed the S&P 500, which is good, but not astronomical by any stretch of the imagination. Stockmoe then went on to recommend a number of EV stocks like Tesla, NIO, Xpeng and more, all back in September as well. This was an absolutely brilliant call by Stockmoe because all of these stocks are up significantly since his call. He called NIO at around $20 and that's now sat over $60. Tesla at $400, which is now sat over $800, nearly at $900, and Xpeng rose from around $20 to around $40. However, he also recommended Hyliion at the end of September when the stock was around $53, giving calls and estimates of upwards of $500. But the stock has since crashed around 70% down to only $17 a share. But something I think that's really important to remember when you are investing is that no one's ever going to have a 100% win rate. It's literally impossible. If you really did have a 100% win rate with stocks and you doubled your money on every single stock that you invested into, you could take $10,000 up to $10 million in only 10 trades, which frankly seems a bit ridiculous. So I think it's always important to remember, whether you're listening to Stockmoe or me or anyone else, that no one is going to be right 100% of the time and you can lose money when investing. If you do want to start investing and you want to give it your best shot at taking $10,000 all the way up to $10 million or a smaller amount like £100, then be sure to sign up to Free Trade using my link down below in the description to get a free share worth up to £200 when you invest a minimum of £1. Yep, that's right, you only have to invest £1 and you will get a free share of stock worth up to £200. Now, back to Stockmoe. Something I don't agree with that he did was his video on GTGFF, or Great Thunder Gold Corporation. Stockmoe made a nearly 19-minute video explaining why this stock was the best penny stock that you could buy right now. But actually, this video on GTGFF was a sponsored video where they paid him $10,000 to make a positive video on their stock. Now, it is good that Stockmoe disclosed that this was a sponsored video and didn't try and cover it up in any way, shape or form, and also $10,000 for one video is a lot of money, especially for a video that only got 50,000 views. A typical sponsor like Raid, Shadow Legends would pay somewhere between $1,000 to $2,000 for a video with 50,000 views, and not $10,000. I think it's also important to remember that Stockmoe grew his YouTube channel very, very quickly, and there isn't a rule book or a guidebook with YouTube telling you what you should and shouldn't do. It seems that Stockmoe might consider this a mistake, as he hasn't taken any more sponsored videos like that video since then. But I guess it's positive that he's potentially learnt from what he might consider a mistake. But what about his background? Does he really have any investing experience? Well, we can see here that Stockmoe actually used to work for American Express Financial or Ameriprise Financial, and therefore he really does have some tangible experience giving financial advice and investing, as he used to work as a stockbroker and a financial planner. He isn't just any old Jim off the street that used to work at McDonald's and is claiming to be the next Ray Dalio. American Express Financial is ranked as the 9th biggest broker-dealer in the US and one of the biggest financial planning companies in the entire world, with around $973 billion of assets under management. Now, I'm sure that Stockmoe wasn't managing every single penny of these $973 billion, but working for one of the biggest financial planning companies in the entire world does give him some good credibility. For example, you'd probably feel fairly confident if a surgeon with over 25 years of experience was operating on you, but you probably wouldn't feel comfortable if somebody with no medical experience whatsoever asked to operate on you. It's called proof of work. We, as humans, naturally feel more inclined and more comfortable with people that have experience in a certain skill. Since then, Stockmoe went on to become a teacher, regularly leading a team of students to the Charles Schwab Stock Market Challenge, where his team won the challenge for a number of years. Obviously, Stockmoe is a good teacher, as well as being a successful financial planner. He must be, otherwise his students wouldn't have won the competition so many times. Obviously you need intelligent students, but they also need good guidance. Stockmoe aims to pass on his years of experience gained from the financial planning world to not only his students but to us on YouTube as well. Assuming that he's providing us on YouTube with the same knowledge that he provides to his students, his subscribers could become successful at investing. In terms of financial incentives, this is a bit of a tricky one to answer. Obviously he has done a sponsored video in the past for GTGFF, but could he secretly be doing sponsored videos for NIO or for Tesla? And could Stockmoe pump a larger stock like NIO and Tesla all on his own? Well, firstly, I think we can assume that if he was being sponsored by NIO or by Tesla or by another company like that he'd disclose it in his description. He disclosed the fact that he was being sponsored by GTGFF, and therefore it wouldn't make sense for him to disclose one sponsorship and not to disclose other sponsorships. It's also a legal requirement to disclose if you are being sponsored, and YouTube even has a handy tick box for us to tick as creators if we are being sponsored or being paid to promote a product for financial gain, just so that we as creators can stay compliant. Therefore, it's probably fair to assume that Stockmoe isn't being paid by other companies to advertise their stocks. But what about moving a stock or pumping and dumping a stock? Could he do that all on his own? Could he do it with a smaller stock? And could he do it with a larger stock? Stockmoe has around 280,000 subscribers at the time of making this video. Let's assume that say 10% of his subscriber base invested in a stock that he suggested, giving him a workforce of around 28,000 subscribers. It's probably fairly likely that more than 10% of his subscribers do actually invest, because obviously you probably wouldn't really watch an investing channel if you didn't invest yourself or want to invest yourself. But they do also say that only around 1% of your audience will commit to a purchasing decision. So let's just assume it's somewhere around that 10% mark. If 28,000 of his subscribers all invested an average of around $1,000, that would give him a buying power of around $28 million. Now, some of his subscribers might have more money than $1,000 to invest, and some might have less than $1,000 to invest, like say $10,000 or only $100, and therefore $1,000 is probably a fairly good average. The average daily volume for GTGFF is around 110,000 shares a day. At a share price of around 50 cents a share, that's around $55,000 a day that's traded on the market. And therefore it would be very, very easy for Stockmoe to move the value of a stock like GTGFF, especially if he invested some of his own money, or especially if more than 10% of his subscribers actually invested. The NIO stock averages around 100 to 150 million shares a day, and at a share price of around $60 a share, that's over $6 billion a day that's traded. And therefore Stockmoe could probably not move a larger stock like NIO at all. Therefore, I do think that Stockmoe is trying to do his audience a favour and provide them with some quality stock picks based off his wholesome research, not being a pump and dump artist trying to pick up any old sponsorship that comes his way. Yes, he took a sponsorship in the past to promote a stock, but past actions don't predict future behaviour. We should all know that from investing in the stock market. Just because a stock has been going up doesn't mean that it's going to continue going up, or just because a stock's been going down doesn't mean that it's going to continue going down. He does actually have some credible financial experience, and he isn't just some guy with a YouTube channel that used to work at McDonald's. But so who am I? Well, I'm an accountant for a top firm over here in the UK, and therefore I also work in the financial space, but as an accountant and not as a stockbroker. I invest in stocks and I invest in property, and I bought my first house at the age of 23. On my channel I talk about some stocks that Stockmoe doesn't, and I often give my version of a top 5 stocks as well. As an accountant I can provide some additional, deeper analysis on financial statements, as that's my bread and butter. I also sometimes talk about SPAC Stocks, which stands for Special Purpose Acquisition Companies. For anyone that doesn't know what this is, sometimes investors set up a company or a shell company with the intention of acquiring another company, like an investment fund or an investment vehicle. The investor then IPOs this company with the intention of raising funds for an acquisition. People often invest into these stocks because you can invest into them very cheaply, and they will at some point in the future acquire a different company if they can acquire it within 2 years. These are often great investments because you could find an SPAC that was set up by, say, an old founder of PayPal. These people would have great knowledge of payment processing companies and might have the intention to acquire Klarna, and therefore you could effectively invest in Klarna very cheaply before it's even acquired. Also, be sure to subscribe to my channel, and if you want to support my channel then head on over to my Patreon, where I have a private Discord where I update you all in real time about my stock portfolio and hold weekly live streams, and also offer one-to-one contact to ask me any questions that you might have. I'll also pop up some of my other videos in this corner up here, or maybe this corner up here. And as always guys, if you enjoyed this video then be sure to check out some of my others. Alternatively, subscribe to the channel and ding the notification bell, because that way you'll be alerted when I upload a new video. Cheers!